Good afternoon, everybody. Movie review time. Green Book. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you spend your money? Stick around and you'll find out. Now it is, the day after Valentine's Day. So we're 5-6 weeks into the year, and have I seen the film of the year? Well, quite possibly. Green Book is a wonderful film. And if you're looking for a feel-good film that makes you think, makes you want to know more, makes you sad, makes you happy, makes you glad to be alive, go and see Green Book. Now, what is Green Book about? Well, it's set in 1962 and based on a true story of the friendship between two unlikely individuals. There is Tony Vallelonga, who is a doorman come bouncer come waiter at the Copacabana Club in New York, who is out of work for a couple of months while the club is being refurbished. And he lands a job as a driver for Don Shirley, a black classically trained musician who wants to undertake a tour with his two fellow musicians, a cello player and a bass player, around the deep south of the United States. At 1962, difficult time for a black person to undertake such a tour. Tony Vallelonga is not the most enlightened person. He has undertones and sometimes overtones of racism. He is not overly fond of black people, and he's not overly fond of doing this job, but he needs the money and he's persuaded to take it by Don Shirley. And so commences a road trip, a bromance, a friendship between these two unlikely individuals. Tony Vallelonga is played by Viggo Mortensen, who I first saw probably in Lord of the Rings, and then saw in a film, A History of Violence, in which he was very good indeed. And Don Shirley is played by Mahershala, I can never say that name correctly, Ali, who I first saw in House of Cards and has since gone on to greater success, and in fact won an Oscar last year, possibly the year before, for Moonlight. Both of them are absolutely brilliant. The film Green Book, and one of the thoughts, and it's not a criticism, it's just one of my comments about the film, is although the title is Green Book, the actual Green Book plays a very small part in the story. Although I suppose it gives the opportunity to hang the story onto something. The Green Book was a book, coloured green, funnily enough, developed in the 1960s, that showed where black, or as they were known then, coloured people were allowed to eat and stay in the South, because it wasn't integrated, of course, and therefore they weren't allowed to stay or eat in the same places, or all of the same places, as white people. So the Green Book is what Tony Vallelonga, who plays Don Shirley's driver come assistant plus fixer, needs to use in order to book the nights where, or the motels where Don Shirley is going to stay as they travel around the South. So what begins as an awkward, spiky reverse boss relationship, because Tony, who's the white man, plays the worker, and Don Shirley, who's the black man, plays the boss. What begins as a spiky, awkward, difficult relationship for both of them develops into something wonderful, something moving, something enlightening, something that everyone can learn from, everyone can gain lessons from. It's not a film that hits you over the head with the racism of the early 60s in the South. The racism is there, yes, of course it is, and it's an important part of the film. But it doesn't, as I say, hit you over the head with it. There was a lot of violence around at that time, and there's a little bit of violence in this film, but not very much. The racism is subtly played. Oftentimes it's played for laughs, but in the you could say the light-hearted way in which it illustrates the story, it really exemplifies the steps that were taken by the United States at that time in its history to discriminate, to treat the black people as second class or even third class citizens. And it's Tony Vallelonga's realization of this and his true awareness of how the South treats Don Shirley that is at the heart of the film. Tony Vallelonga obviously comes from New York, and so he is a long way away from the white people as they're portrayed in the film in the Deep South. And he finds as the film progresses that he has more in common with Don Shirley and the way that Don Shirley is treated, because Tony Vallelonga as an Italian is also subject to prejudice, particularly in the South. He finds that he has more in common with Don Shirley than he perhaps wanted to, but certainly that he realized. And as the film progresses and as it reaches the end, he realizes how close they are and how similar they are in lots of ways, even if they are of different colors. So it might be a simplistic story, but a simplistic story that is deftly told, that is beautifully told. The relationship between Tony Vallelonga and his wife Dolores, who is left at home, and the way that Don Shirley assists him in writing his letters to him is fabulous. The scenes in the car as they are traveling along through the Deep South are wonderfully played, wonderfully comic. There is a fabulous scene around a Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant that is so funny and is so delightfully played. Everything about the film is perfect. The music is perfect. The playing by the two leads and the supporting cast is perfect. The filming is perfect. The landscapes are perfect. The portrayal of the prejudices of the white people in the South is perfect. But as I say, it doesn't bash you over the head with it. It is a feel-good film. It's a wonderful film, and it's an enlightening film. It's a film to show you what filmmaking should be about, because it entertains while teaching you things. It gives you something to enjoy while you are learning. It is a masterpiece of the first order, and I urge you to go and see it. So far this year, I've seen Spider-Man in the Spider-Verse, I've seen Mary Queen of Scots, and I've seen The Favourite. They all pale into insignificance compared to Green Book, which is a fabulous, fabulous film. Go and see it. And if you only see a film this year, go and see Green Book. You'll love it. See you next time.